All right, here we go. Our objective for today, can factor polynomials. Read together. 1, 2, 3. Can factor polynomials. Get a prayer model going, please. And without looking at your notes, fill it out, please. Definition. Give me one example, one unexample, and one hashtag. You have about 45 seconds. Okay, 46 seconds. All right, there it is. Polynomials, give me definition, example, non-example, and a hashtag. Give me some time. Go. Let's see. Definition, monomials or sum of difference of monomials. Yes, example, non-example, one hashtag. Yes, I think you. All right, good. Underneath that, I want you to write steps. And without looking at your notes, I want you to write me the 4 steps of the process we've been doing to factor polynomials. You have to make it wordy. If you want to abbreviate, that's fine. Copy that. I'll give you some time. Go. All right, let's see. Who wrote step 1, everyone? Standard form. That is correct. Step 2. ID, GCF, and divide. That is correct. Step 3. Bam, right. Factors. And of course, last, check. We good? Yeah, right? All right, so just to recap, yesterday we started with, I went over the terms factor and factoring, and we knew that factors are 2 or more expressions that are multiplying, and factoring is the process known as what? Dividing. Is that correct? From there we did this one, yes? From there we went to this one. From there we did with 3 terms. Then we did this one, yeah? Okay, look at this one. Don't copy this. Let me zoom in. You did this one? Okay. In your noodle, identify the GCF. Do the division. So there had 2 factors already. Okay. So GCF is what, Isaac? 2x to the second. That is correct. So one of my factors is 2x to the second. Let's see what's left. What is 8x to the 4th divided by 2x to the second? 4x to the second. Because what happens to the exponents here when we're dividing? They subtract. Is that correct? Yeah. 4x to the 3rd divided by 2x to the second. That leaves us with 1x. And lastly, negative. Oh, my bad. Whoa, I was just seeing to see if you're paying attention. Last, negative 2x squared divided by 2x squared, that's negative 1. How many factors do you see? 2. This and that. These are my factors. And of course, to check, we just distribute and check to make sure we got the same thing that we started. All right. Fairly simple. Copy this one. Example number 2. It says, the area of a court of a game of squash is 9x squared plus 6x meters squared. Factor this polynomial to find the possible expressions for the dimensions of the squash court. Copy that. I'll give you some time. All right, it says, example 2. The area of a court of the game of the game squash is 9x squared plus 6x meters squared. Factor this polynomial to find the possible expressions for the dimensions of the squash court. All right, so if we were to cube this problem, don't write this down, I'm just going to write the acronym. So to cube this, let's start from the last one, which is drawing a table or diagram. Now for this one, look at it. The area of the court of the game of squash. What do you think the court of a game of squash looks like? Like a tennis court, so there we sketch a rectangle. Sketch a rectangle, please. And let's label. What are they talking about? The area of the court. What is the area? 9x squared plus 6x meters squared. So I'm going to label the area in here. 9x squared plus 6x. Why didn't I write the m squared? Because that stands for the unit of measure, meters squared. All right. So they're asking us to factor and find the possible dimensions. So dimensions, that means that they want this measure and from here to here. So first of all, to find this one, we need to find the GCF. What would be our GCF for these two, everyone? 3x. So we write that right there. Okay, thank you. So now that we have that, do we know how to find the other dimension? Well, yeah. What is 9x squared divided by 3x? 3x. Very good. Plus, what is 6x divided by 3x? 2. Therefore, the dimensions of the court are 3x times 3x plus 2 meters. 10 cubed. Yes, Julian. I don't know. I don't know if you can. Oh, yeah. All right. So let me just elaborate. Notice that here, did I write meters squared? No, what did I write? Meters. All right, so let me just elaborate on that. Look up. Let's say I had this figure. And if I talk about the area of this figure, we talk about the entire inside. How do we produce the entire inside of that figure? By multiplying this dimension by this dimension. Well, in other words, now we need to look at the length and the width. How many different dimensions? 2. That's why we label this units squared, because it involves how many dimensions? 2. Is everybody following so far? Well, let's say I took my scissors and I cut this corner right here, and I'm looking at the edges of this figure. Everybody following so far? Let me lay it out so you guys can see that figure laid out. You guys see it? Explain to your neighbor, please. Huh? Okay, here it goes again. Let me start from the beginning. Let's say I have this figure, and I focus on the area. To produce the area, I need to multiply this times this to focus here. Okay, if you still don't see it, let me go baby steps with this. Let's say this measures 3, and this measures 2. 1, 2. You guys see that? So if this measures 3, this measures 2, 1, 2. To produce the inside, I need to multiply these two together. So how many units of measure do I have inside? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 units, and these are known as little squares. Okay, hold on. I'm getting there. Are we there so far up to right there? How many little squares did this one produce? 6. Since this one we are not given any numbers, that's why we just label it units squared. We don't know how many. Are we there? But that's what we need to produce the inside. But let's say I didn't want to focus on the inside. I wanted to focus on the outside of this figure. Is everybody following up to right there? I'm going to take some scissors and cut this corner like this. And I'm focusing on the edge of this figure. Well, look what I'm going to do. And here it is.
Oh, I get it.
Explain to your neighbor, please.
So you cut it like this, and then it falls apart. I don't know. You get it? Alright, so he cut it, and it's attached. So then when he cuts it, if I get this, he cut it, and it's attached. And now he falls apart. It's not attached. Do you get it, Devin?
Okay, here we go. Look up. So, for our geometrically challenged people, here it goes. Here's my figure. I'm taking scissors and I'm cutting this corner over here. Once I cut this corner, I'm going to lay it out. Okay? So, what would I label this? I'm going to label it units. Why? Because there's only a flat line. It's only how many dimensions? One. What would I label this one if we're referencing to the area? 2, because we're referencing to the area needed what? 2 dimensions to produce the area. Now going to the problem that we just finished. Look at this one. We started with what? Meters squared, because it's referencing to what? To the inside. But are we focusing on the inside for the answer? No, we're focusing on what? On the outside. What was the outside? 3x and 3x plus 2. These are the outside of the figure. That's where we only write meters, 1 dimension. Okay, we'll get to that later. Yeah, I don't want to confuse you guys more. All right, so those of you that got it, then you're going to be fine hopefully next year. Those of you that didn't, guess what? You're going to have to be in tutoring from the beginning of the school year in geometry. Please, pretty please. Okay? Yeah, I know. Like, next year you're going to be talking about planes and lines. And, yes. All right, so, let's move on. Copy this one, example 3A. 3A. Yes, right there. Example 3A. Just copy it. I'm going to go over this one. 5 parentheses x plus 2 close parentheses plus 3x open parentheses x plus 2 close parentheses. Okay? All right. Before I get started with this, I'm going to do something on the right side that has nothing to do with this. I just want to get your noodle ready for what we're going to do over here. Tell your neighbor what I just said, please. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now has nothing to do with this problem. Okay? All right, write your utensils down, look up to the screen. Let's say I gave you the expression 5x plus 3x squared, and I asked you to factor it. Some of you are already in your noodle, you're saying, well, it's not in standard form, I'm going to set it in standard form, and so on and so forth. But let's say you didn't set it in standard form. Let's start from right there. Look up, please. This could be written as 5 times x. Is that correct? This could be written as 3 times x times x. Do you agree with that? Okay. So far we have here how many terms? 1, 2 terms. What is common for both terms? X and X. So we write that here. What's left for this first term? 5 plus what's left for the second term? 3x. And these are my factors. Are we there so far? Okay. All right. Now that I have your noodle there, I'm going to switch to this problem. Focus, please. Oh, by the way, how many terms did I have here? See, we started, and then there's a plus, and then we go over here, and then the second. Okay? Look at this expression. How many terms do we have? 2. 1, 2. What's common for both terms? X plus 2 and X plus 2. I'm going to write X plus 2. That's my GCF. What's left on the first term? Plus, and these are my factors. Copy that, please. Those of you that are done with that, underneath that I want you to write example 3Q. Copy this one and see if you can do this one by yourself. Let's do 23 parentheses Q plus 1 close parentheses plus Q open parentheses Q plus 1. Should be just about done. All right, check with the neighbors, see what they got so far. All right, our factors are, Samantha, go. Hands if you got that? Yes, and these are my factors. So yeah, these two terms had this in common, which goes here. And what's left? This one and this one. That's how we get this. All right. Copy this one. Example 3B. Let me zoom in. Negative 2b parentheses b squared plus 1 close parentheses plus open parentheses b squared plus 1 close parentheses. This is almost exactly the same to the one we just did. See if you can find me the factors, but focus because this one has a little bit of a slider to it. See if you see it. Copy that and go. Okay, let's see. What do you have in common for these two terms, everyone? B squared plus 1, that is correct. This and that. But we had two terms, right? 1, 2. All right. Let's see. What's left over in this term, everyone?
Negative 2b plus 1.
Plus 1. That is correct. There's an invisible 1 right there. Hands if you got that. Very good. Okay, so we're done with these, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, let's crank it up a notch.
Yeah.
Factors. Oh, yeah. Show me your fingers how comfortable you are with these so far. 5 fours, 5 fours, 5 fours. Okay. So we got these. Copy this one. Example 4A. And for the instructions, just write factor by grouping and check. Factor by grouping and check. Example 4A. Okay, so I'm going to go over this one so that you guys can see the process. You'll do the next one after you copy this. And I just want to make sure that we're understanding the process that we wrote down yesterday, yes? So, here it goes. Write your utensils down, look up to the screen. According to the process we wrote down, step 1 is to check to see if it's in what? Standard form. Let's see. 4th degree, 3rd degree, 1st degree, and 0th degree. Is it in standard form? Yes. Now, this process is known factor by grouping, which means I'm going to group some terms together. And it looks like if I have 4 terms, by how many terms am I going to group? Do I group in only 1, in 2s, in 3s, or 4 terms? If I group in 4, that means I group the whole thing. How many terms do I group by? 2. That means I'm going to group the first 2 terms and the second 2 terms. Okay, I'm going to zoom in now, so stay focused. Here it goes. This is called factor by grouping. Now I grouped these 2 terms and these 2 terms. I'm going to start with these 2 first. By looking at these 2, I can look at them and they have a GCF between them too. So then I'm thinking of a number that divides both, but they have variables that divide both. Therefore, the GCF for these 2 is 2h to the 3rd. If that's true, that means 6h to the 4th divided by 2h to the 3rd, that's 3h. Negative 4h to the 3rd divided by 2h to the 3rd, I'm left with negative 2. Are we there so far? All right. I bring down the plus sign. Now looking at these 2, you're just paying attention. Looking at these 2 have a GCF also. And GCF for these 2 is 4. And I'm left with 12h divided by 4 is 3h. Negative 8 divided by 4, that's negative 2. Now I'm left with how many terms? 2. 1, 2. This looks familiar, doesn't it? What do you see that they have familiar? 3h minus 2, that's our GCF. And what's left for this term? 2h cubed plus 4. Copy that, please. These are my factors. I know, right? That's pretty cool, right? Let's go. Copy that. Okay, let me zoom out really quick. And let's see. I'm going through the process one more time. What is the first thing we check for? Standard form. From there, I group 2 at a time. These 2 and these 2. Look at these 2, I got the GCF, and then I got the second factor. If these 2 got the GCF and the second factor, and then from here I see that we have 2 terms, and I see that the GCF now is what? 3h minus 2, because I get this one and this one as 1. And I'm left with 2h cubed plus 4. Everybody following? But then it says check. How would we check this, everyone? Distribution or area model, right? Everybody remember area model? 3h minus 2 times 2h cubed plus 4. And of course we do this times this, that times that, and then this times this, and this times that, and it should give us the same thing we started with, yes? And that would be to check. I'm not going to check to save time. Let's see if you can factor this next one, example 4b. 5y to the 4th minus 15y to the 3rd plus y squared minus 3y. And don't panic, we are going to go over the bell, sorry, because we still have one more to go. Are you done? was in standard form? Yes, that means I group these two and these two. Is that correct? All right. Brody, GCF for the first two. 5y to the third, and I'm left with what?
Y minus 3y. No.
Y minus 3. Hands if you got up to right there. Okay, good. Bree, what is the GCF for the second two? Y, and we're left with? Hands if you got up to right there. Good. Therefore, my factors are, everyone, y minus 3 times plus y. And these are my factors. 1, 2. Show me a favor how comfortable we are with these. Okay, last one. Here we go. Copy this one. 6b cubed plus 9b plus 8b to the second plus 12. As you're copying it down, tell your neighbor what you're doing first. Is that in standard form, everyone? No. Therefore, I need to write 6b cubed. What's next? 8b squared plus and 12. All right? The rest of it is the same. You group GCF, GCF, and so on and so forth. Yeah? You can finish that later. All right? Your home plate for tonight is on pages 526 through 528 only. We do have tutoring if I don't see you. Have a good one, guys. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.